with their business because of a technology, because it's a competitor that they want to take out,
Yep.
or whatever.
It's called synergistic value,
Yeah,
which
okay.
is what you just described in plainer words.
Yes.
And also, in terms of a business broker, many of them are psychologically very sharp, and they know that somebody really wants a business or somebody really wants to sell a business, and they move accordingly to satisfy someone's dream or someone's hope. And frequently that price doesn't represent fair market value. It represents fulfilling somebody's hope or dream.
Okay. And that is a huge element in value. And it's not in the numbers.
Not in the numbers, no.
Right.
No,
and so
somebody's head.
So again, yeah. So there is that psychological element, and it's important. And so it's important to know also that when you're selling, that if you do decide to have a valuation study done, which would probably be a good idea.
Yes.
That is not necessarily what you want to hang your hat on. So I always bring the example of, I had a brother-in-law who had a cable television repair service, for cable equipment and
Right.
connections and so forth. And he had a pretty decent business, but I'll tell you, it never made money. I mean, it was losing money consistently. If somebody had asked me to value that business, I would have said 0. Okay, nothing. It's not worth anything because it's never generated any income. But he had a buyer who came along who wanted to get into that market.
That's it.
Okay,
That's it.
and they had a similar business. They wanted to get into that market. They paid him $1 million.
Wow.
And so, and if somebody had come to me and with that situation and they said, "What did you think?" I'd say, "Sell." So anyway,
Absolutely.
So that's what he did, and so anyway, I mean, it ended up being sort of, his little nest egg to start with for his retirement. Thank God.
Yeah, really.
And anyway, so you don't know, and so. Again, you want to get the right people on your team and who are sensitive to these things. The business valuation specialist that's not his role.
No.
Okay,
No.
so that's more the business broker, but nonetheless, you need to be aware and alert for those things.
I think just as an add-on to that, many people who want to sell their business really don't have any idea of what it's worth in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
And so within the framework of authorized types of reports, you can get a verbal report that may give you enough information without having to do the full-blown documented report. And it's a good idea if you're going to sell your business to know what approximately the range of prices should be.
Okay. Yeah, and Steve and other valuation specialists have access to databases.
Yes.
Of transactions where sales have actually taken place and what sort of statistics related to that, so that they can use that as part of their study in coming up with the valuation that they do.
Especially for small businesses,
Okay.
yes.
So, and because there's not public markets for these things, so any information you can get is helpful. All right, well, let's move along and talk about the role of risk in a valuation study.
Well, risk is to some extent subjective. There are probably 2 or 3 fundamental processes for determining risk, which really rely on the last element, which is the company-specific risk. And the company-specific risk means that you need to look at, as I alluded to earlier, competition, the depth of management, the age of the product that's involved, or the business that's involved. Is it a growing business or an ebbing? Like if you're selling buggy whips when the first car comes out, and the geographic area that the company services. Are they national or local, and therefore are they affected by national economic information or local information? So this all goes into what could be simply said as a build-up method, and you use a relatively small range of numbers to evaluate each piece of the risk, and when you get to the final number, you allow for an inflation growth rate, and then so you move from the risk rate to the capitalization rate, and the capitalization rate is, to use the term, inverse to the a multiplier. In other words, if the capitalization rate is 20%, the inverse or multiplier would be 5 times the income of the business. If it's 30%, it would be 3 times. And the development of the risk rate is really the guts of a valuation, because you need to know so much about the business. Just a little war story. We had a company that had been working in the computer business, developing a process that worked on hard drives, and when we talked to them, we learned that hard drives are disappearing except in large server environments, but the portable laptop and notebook computer uses plug-in USB type media. So they were going out of that business, but they were going into a new business. So we had a company that had 2 businesses. We had 2 different risk rates within the same company.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
yeah. Wow.
And that's just you have to be alert that a business has some specific considerations all the time.
Yeah. We're about out of time, Steve, but very briefly, something that I didn't really write a question about, but I think it's an important area these days, has to do with allocation of sales price. And I was wondering if you might be willing to make a quick comment about that.
Well, under the tax code, you need to determine if you're buying hard assets and you're paying more than the value of the hard assets, you've got a bunch of an amount that is applicable to the goodwill of the business. Mm-hmm. And it's a difficult proposition. I'm not talking about the tax treatment of goodwill, but to establish that there is in fact goodwill is an important element, because goodwill represents not people like you, but the fact that the business that you are buying cannot support the full purchase price, and the excess, it needs to be accounted for in a different way.
Okay. I think we're going to have to leave it there because we're really out of time. So first of all, Steve, thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you, Michael.
I really appreciate your being here and sharing this important information with us. And Steve's firm has a website. It's www.berger, that's BERGER, Lewis, LEWIS.com.
Right.
And you can get information about his firm there. Our website for the show, www.financialinsiderweekly.com. You can write to me, Michael, at financialinsiderweekly.com. And so thank you very much for joining us for our show, and hope to see you next time.